Hi, this is Peter Hilliard. I have a blog called Music Directing the School Musical, and you can either Google it or go to peterhilliard.wordpress.com to check out more stuff like this there and advice about music directing musicals. And today I want to talk to you. It's going to take about 10 minutes because I have 10 minutes worth of really fun and interesting information about the song Far From the Home I Love from the musical Fiddler on the Roof by Jerry Bock and Sheldon Harnick from 1964. And I think this is a song that's very familiar to a lot of musical theater fans because it's sung so frequently that it's a very popular musical. It's been around a long time. And it's also in the soprano anthology, and because it works for a young singer, it's a young character, and the song isn't too terribly vocally taxing. It's often assigned by teachers to young singers, and there's also you can act well in it, so it's a great choice for a young singer. But I think it's so familiar that sometimes we forget the really neat things that are happening in the music and the lyrics, and so that's what I want to kind of point out to you today. With Bock and Harnick, they wrote great musicals like She Loves Me and Fiddler, and there's really all of their works are wonderful. Fiorello. They are masters at creating really sophisticated music and lyrics using very simple materials. So, for example, if you were to look at a Sondheim song, sometimes you get right under the surface of a Sondheim song and you find that it's so incredibly complex. It's just a miracle that it works because there's so many moving pieces and they all fit together perfectly. That's not the experience of looking at a Bock and Harnick song, because what's happening is, again, sophisticated, but it's not really all that complex. It's just beautifully put together using simple ingredients. And both the lyric and the music are doing that together. They work perfectly together and beautifully. I hope I can show you that using what I'm talking about today. So I'll start with the lyric. And again, if you happen not to be familiar with this song, maybe you can go and look at it and spend a little time with it and come back, and maybe these things will mean a little bit more. But I'm going to assume that you know the basic point of the song and how it works. And Sheldon Harnick has written a lyric that is about a young girl who has to choose between staying with her family and leaving her home. Of course, she's already made a choice to leave to be with a man, and it's a difficult choice because she loves her family, but she also loves this man, and that's the sort of crux of the story. And Sheldon Harnick does these really neat things. In school, when I was a kid, I'm sure it's still the case, you learn the 5 W's and 1 H. Who, what, where, when, why, and there's a how in there. And that either helps you to write a story and make sure that you get all the good information that you need into the story, or maybe you're writing you're reporting and you're doing a news story and you want to make sure that you get all the relevant information. Who, what, where, when, why, and how are often the things that you're looking for. And Sheldon Harnick does this incredible thing where he manages to get almost every one of them into the lyric. It begins, how can I hope to make you understand why I do what I do? So there's 3 right away. Why I must travel, there's why again, to a distant land far from the home I love. Once I was happily content to be as I was, where I was, there's where, close to the people who are close to me, here in the home I love. Who could see that a man would come, who would change the shape of my dreams? Then later, oh, what a melancholy choice this is. Later still, there, where my heart has settled long ago. And then finally, who could imagine I'd be wandering so? He keeps coming back to these question words. The only one of the 5 W's and an H that he misses is when. He doesn't say when, but also, not only are there lots of questioning words in here, there's also these great answering words, particularly answers to 2 of the interrogatives. He has in this song far and close, here and there, which are of course answers to the question where. Where, far, close, here, there. And he also has words like once, long ago, and now, which are answers to the question when, that he is the one interrogative word that he didn't actually manage to get into the lyric. So for the lyric, the song is about where and when. And in that when is this sense that something is past and there's something in the future to look forward to. And so in the lyric itself, in a very simple and beautiful way, Sheldon Harnick manages to make the song about questions and answers to those questions, which is really quite beautiful and sophisticated, but again, simple. Also, there are things that are, there's repeated words, and there's alliteration in it that is really, if you start to listen for it, you can hear a lot of really great alliteration. Far from the home I love, or here in the home I love, leaving the home I love. There's consonants in pairs coming through the whole lyric. So that's just a little peek into the lyric, and now I'm going to get to some fun musical things about this. Because the music by Jerry Bock, again, very sophisticated, but doing it with simple things. So in music we have different modes, and the two modes that are most common are major, which is sort of a happy mode, and minor, which is a kind of a sadder mode. Now, of course, there can be happy songs in minor, and there can be sad songs in major. But in general, minor is a sad key, right? And major is a happy key. Well, in this song, the woman who's singing, the young girl who's singing, is trying to decide, because she's happy and sad sort of simultaneously. And Jerry Bock beautifully uses C minor and C major to sort of make that point. So at the beginning, the first section that she sings, which I'll call the A section, starts, "How can I hope to make you understand," in C minor, because she's kind of sad. "Understand why I do what I do," and then another in minor, but it's still in the A section. "Why I must travel to a distant land, far from the home I love." And the word love, it suddenly changes, and it's in major. And then she sings it, the next phrase, in major. "Once I was happily content to be." It's the same contour, the same shape of the melody, but instead of being in minor, this sad key, it's in major, because she says what? "Once I was happily content to be, as I was where I was." Then in the B section, which is the new musical material, she sings, "Who could see that a man would come?" And we're in, it's hard to say what key we're in here. We're sort of changing keys. And then a new musical idea with this sort of sighing sound as she's resigned to watching older dreams grow dim, watching her past sort of disappear. And then we get here, and we don't really know where we're headed. We're headed to some kind of C, but we don't know whether it's major or minor. It turns out she's in the minor again. "Oh, what a melancholy," again. So the music is underlining that she's sad, using that minor mode. And then "Closing my heart," she's still in the minor. And then Jerry Bock does something really quite interesting. The first time, if you recall, in the first A section, it was in minor for 2 phrases, and then it was in major for 2 phrases. Then we had the bridge, and now we've had 2 phrases in minor, and he starts the last phrase in major, like you might expect. "There where my heart has settled long ago, I must go, I must go." And then he pulls the rug out from under us and does the last part of the last A in C minor again. "Who could imagine I'd be wandering so?" So he builds into the structure this major minor question, and then at the end he does this sort of switcheroony and puts it back into the minor. So he's playing around with major and minor. And then the last thing I'll tell you about, because I know you have many busy things to do. You're musical theater fans. There's shows to listen to and so forth. But he does this thing with the melodic contour using sets of 3 notes, and this is where it really gets kind of neat, because he has these 3-note patterns. And I'll just tell you what they are, and then I'll show you how they work their way out, because all the melodic material, almost all the melodic material in the whole piece, spins out from these 3-note cells. So one of the phrases is a 3-note phrase that either goes up or down, like a scale. Just 3 notes, though. So, for example, that's going up, and then maybe this is going down. Or sometimes it's like that. Or, so a 3-note phrase going up or down. That's one thing. Another thing is a sort of little pyramid, which is sort of 3 notes going up and then back down again. For example, so it just kind of goes up and back down, or here. And so there's a little sort of triangle or pyramid shape. And then there's also a sort of 3 repeated notes, kind of insistent. And that happens in a number of places too. So you have some that go up, some that go down in 3-note phrases, and then a little 3-note triangle, right? And then 3 notes in a row, So let me just use those 3 things and kind of point them out as we go. So you start out with this, in this beautiful melody that begins it in the orchestra. And listen, that's that 3 notes up. Here's 3 notes down. And then he has sort of tracing out chords here. And then I want to point out this to you, because this is a very dissonant note, a very dissonant chord. It's beautiful, but very dissonant. And that note in particular is hanging in the air. It's a D flat, very sort of uneasy, that high D flat. And he doesn't really resolve it. He goes to this, which is not an improvement. And then you might say that this is a resolution, but it's not much of a resolution. It just kind of goes on. So this note is sort of hanging in the air, unresolved. Now remember that, because it'll come back later in a kind of important way. So that's the introduction. Then Hoddle sings, "How can I hope?" That is the little triangle. And then she sings, "Make you on," that's 3 up. And then she goes, "Understand," 3 in a row. "Why I do what I do." Listen to the harmony that he puts in there. Understand this. As she goes, the harmony gets more and more sort of painful. Why I do what I do. There's that strange chord again. Then she does the same sort of thing again. Triangle, rising 3-note phrase. And then there's 3 repeated notes. Another triangle. And then 3 notes down. And then we went into major, and then she does the same phrase, same shapes, but again it's in major. Now this is actually a moment, I meant to say this earlier, this is a moment where some singers have trouble, because you have to sing, "Once I was once," but the melody is conflicting with one of the notes in the harmony, which is a little tricky. "Once I was happily content to be." Now before we had these kind of tortured chords here, but now it's not so bad, because she's happy, right? "Close to the people who are close to me." And this is the same idea, triangle, right? 3 notes down. Again, the same contour. Then we go into this me section here. And I said before that the harmony was kind of shifting here and changing keys, but listen to what the melody's doing. 3 notes in a row, then a 3-note phrase up, then 3 in a row, then 3 notes up, and then 3 in a row, and then 3 notes up. All those same very simple ideas. Then the first new idea we've had in a long time. This sort of falling thirds pattern, which sounds like resignation. It's a very sort of sighing motive as she's, regretfully thinking about her past being gone. And as that new musical material comes, this is the point in the song where the actress has to make that shift. She says, "Oh, what a melancholy choice this is." That musically, that's the point where the song is shifting into the final A section. Now, I won't play that next section. I won't describe that next section to you again, because that's the same ideas that came before. But I do want to show you at the very end where Jerry Bock does something really magnificent. When he gets to the end, he goes, "Far from the home I love," and the orchestra goes, "Yet." First of all, what a fantastic chord for the word "yet," because "yet" is a word that, it changes everything. Something's going to happen. Yet, and it's such an expectant chord, that diminished chord. Yet, and then she goes, "There with my love," and there's that nasty chord again, and she sings, "I'm," and finally, after 46, 47 measures, she finally resolves that "I'm home," down to C minor, and it took him that long with that D flat hanging in the air to resolve it. And it's in our minds, in the back of our minds, how's that going to come out, the whole piece, and finally it resolves. So there's a lot of really neat and beautiful things in this piece, and so I hope you've learned something, picked something up. Visit the website, and I'll come back with something cool as I find them.